spirit, every contrary spirit that will try to sabotage what you're about to speak to us. Father, transform and change our minds right now in the name of Jesus Christ. Hide me behind the crosses, hide me behind the anointing that the people see and hear you this morning, God. And we thank you in advance for what you are about to do. You're about to change us, and you're about to transform us by the renewing of our mind. We thank you that soul healing is here. We thank you that soul healing is here. We thank you that restoration is here. Restoration for the mind, and restoration for the body, and restoration for the spirit. And we thank you that all things will be aligned. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Give God great praise. Come on, give God great praise. Thank you, God. Amen. Good morning, everyone. Amen. It's good to be here with you all. And we honor the Lord for his presence. Amen. Thank the Lord for our overseer and Apostle Jackson. Let's give God praise for him. Amen. Amen. Keep clapping. Amen. Lady Alicia, thank God for her. Amen. Apostle Corbett. Amen. Amen. All the tiers of leadership. Amen. Apostle Wilson's King. God bless you, man. God. Amen. Apostle Corbett. Amen. Everybody. Amen. Lottie, and everybody. Amen. Amen. Welcome to the Soul Healing Session. Are you ready? Yes. I said, are you ready?
Yes, Lord.
I don't know. Just get myself situated here. And I had a PowerPoint presentation, but what I would do is I would put the PowerPoint on my website, so you can go and view that. Just trying to fill out the room. So you can go on my website. I'll put that up later this evening. You can go on my website and get that PowerPoint presentation. All right. Just want to start by introducing myself for those that don't know me. Allow me to reintroduce myself. For those of you that do know me, my name is Joshua Smith, and I am your soul healing specialist.
Amen.
For the morning. Amen. Amen. No stranger to this fellowship, no stranger to most of you. I'm a partner, amen, in this great fellowship, and I'm excited about that.
Amen.
Excited to be connected to each and every one of you. I'm also the founding lead pastor of House of Healing Christian Assembly, amen, in Gulfport, Mississippi, where we are building people, transforming minds, and saving a generation. Amen. On the other side, I'm the CEO of J.P. Smith Enterprises, LLC, which is the parent company of many organizations and many companies, including the Soul Healing Initiative. And so I want to welcome everyone again to the Soul Healing Session. I want to give you just an abbreviated version of what my passion is. My passion, my why. Okay, my passion is to help people live emotionally healthy,
yes,
whole, and free.
Yes,
emotionally healthy, whole, and free. I desire to help people live up to their full potential. And this starts, I believe, with us being emotionally healthy. And I'm going to give you the definition of emotionally healthy in a minute. Everything I do, just laying a foundation here, everything that I do is word-based. So everything that I talk about, you'll be able to tie it back to some type of scripture. I'll say every principle that I give you, every teaching will tie back to some type of scripture. One of the things that I do is I call myself a stigma buster. A stigma buster, because we have a lot of stigmas when we start talking about mental health and emotional health. Because one of the things that we tend to think is that when we talk about mental health, we think about going to the crazy house, right? We think about being depressed only. We think about being psychotic and hearing voices. But what I want you to do in this moment, just to kind of break the ice, for those of you that have never been in a soul healing session, what I want you to do is pull out your cell phone. Everybody got one, right? Of course you do. Pull out your cell phone. And I'm going to have you do this exercise that I do everywhere I go, mostly. In your cell phone, if you have an Apple, I know it's called camera. I don't know what it's called in Android. Praying for your deliverance. But
amen. Wait a minute.
Right.
Okay, it's called camera, but it's your camera app. I want you to open your camera app. got it open?
Yeah.
Right? There is a button on there or a thing that you can click to turn that camera facing you. I want everybody to do that. Okay. Now, because I'm a therapist, that means I'm always studying and observing behavior. So, looking around the room, I see several people adjusting their hair, preparing to take selfies, and doing all kinds of things. Okay? I'm observing your behavior. I'm always in that mode. Always. I'm a shepherd too. I'm a watchman, so that works very well together. So, I don't want you to prepare to take a selfie. I don't want you to look at your outward appearance. The reason I do this is because when we come to sessions like this, even when we come to church, we are always seemingly in this mode where we are looking outside of ourselves to point the finger. So we come into church, and preachers can attest to this. Everybody's like, ooh, that message was for them. They talking about them on that point. I wish so-and-so was here to hear that. But what I want you to think about all throughout this session, I want you to look at yourself.
Listen.
Because oftentimes we are so busy looking out of the mirror, looking out of the window to point the finger when we should be running to the mirror.
Amen.
That makes sense? So I want you to look at yourself. That's called self-awareness. Everybody say self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness. So this mirror, this is the closest mirror that you have because nobody carries mirrors anymore, right? We have our cell phones and we look at the cell phone to check our appearance, right? So this is an exercise. I want you to look at yourself. Let a man examine what?
Himself.
So all throughout the session, I want you to examine. Thank you. Examine. Thank you. I don't have a minute. Thank you. I want you to examine yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, put your phone. And she's going to take notes. Thank you. So, what is soul healing? Let's dive in. Though I am clinically trained and I operate in a professional arena as a clinical professional counselor, one of the things that I believe that God has gifted me to do is to marry and merge the theological and the psychological in order to bring us into complete healing, complete health and wholeness, especially in the church, especially the saints. And this is something that I call soul healing. How many were in the session last year? Okay, great. So God has made room for me, and no boasting in myself, boasting in the Lord. God has made room for me. He has expanded and enlarged my territory since that last session, since the last time you saw me. So there's been a tour. There's been a book since last year. There's even been a retreat. Amen. There's another book coming out. There's another website coming out. There's a YouTube channel about to launch in January. So God has just been exceptionally good to me. We did not bring product today, but you can go to my website, thejoshuasmith.com, thejoshuasmith.com, and you can order a copy of my latest book, The Other Side of Rejection, Healing the Damaged Soul.
Yes, Lord.
So I'm really excited about the ministry because I believe it is a ministry. I'm very excited about the ministry that the Lord has entrusted me with, because we will see shortly that if our mind is not together, all right, if our emotions, our will, our appetites, all of that is our soul, if that is not in alignment with our spirit, we will not be able to be a successful Christian. We will not be able to walk successfully in our mantle and in our mandate, all right? We will not be successful in our ministry. We will not be successful in business. We will not be successful in our relationships. Write this down. Everything hinges off of a healthy soul.
Amen.
The success or the failure of everything that we do hinges off of the success of a healthy soul, a healthy mind, a well-balanced mind. I'm going to give you a few core values, and I will give you just a few, and this will be pertinent to our discussion today. I have many core values that guide the soul healing discussion, but I want to give you just a few. The first one is that mankind, male and female, we are triune beings. And I'm going to come back and talk about all these, but I'm going to list them. I'm really set up for PowerPoint. But I'm going to list all these and I'll come back and talk about it. Mankind, male and female, we are triune beings. And you can write down Genesis 2 and 7. Triune, 3. Next core value, The soul is the foundation of who we are. It is the core of who we are. That's number 2. Number 3, there is no health without mental health.
My God.
Amen.
There is no health without mental health. So if you're not mentally, emotionally healthy, you're not spiritually healthy, and you won't be physically healthy. I'll come back and talk about all these. I'm just giving you the outline. So there is no health without what?
Mental health.
Mental health. The last one, wholeness, emotional health, and wellness is a process. Wholeness, emotional health, and wellness is a process. It is a journey, not a destination.
My goodness.
It's a process. As they went,
Yes.
they were healed.
Yes, sir.
So this is a process. It is a journey, not a destination. I want to just plug this in really quickly. It is my recommendation as a professional that everyone see a therapist, see a counselor at least once a year.
Yes, that's right.
And you're seeing one right now, so you got your credit for the year. Amen.
Hallelujah.
You paid your $40 copay, so you're good. I'm going to raise the offering in this session. You paid it. Amen. Once a year. Because what we go to our doctor, we're supposed to, once a year, right? For checkups. You're supposed to go to the dentist how many times a year? Twice, every 6 months. You're supposed to go to see a therapist to make sure your mind is together at least once a year. Did you know that? Just shake your head like you know it now. Amen. So this is your session. Welcome to my couch.
Amen.
Amen. So there's no health without mental health. Wholeness, emotional health, and wellness is a process. It is a journey, not a destination. Foundation scriptures. I want to give you 2. 3 John 1 and 2. We know this. It says, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your what? Soul healer. Your soul prospers. 3 John 1 and 2. Next scripture, foundation scriptures. 2 Timothy 1 and 7. Very familiar, very popular, but I want to read it to you in the Amplified version.
All right.
2 Timothy 1 and 7. And these scriptures will guide our discussion today. 2 Timothy 1 and 7. Amplified version says, for God did not give us the spirit of timidity or cowardice or fear, but he has given us a spirit of power and of love, watch this, and of sound judgment.
Yeah.
This is what sound mind means.
Right.
See, we stop there and shout, oh, God didn't give me a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. Here's what a sound mind means. Sound judgment. Somebody say sound judgment.
Judgment.
And personal discipline. Uh-oh.
Save us, God.
Personal discipline. Personal discipline results in the ability to stay calm.
My God. This is good already.
Well balanced. I love the word.
You look good.
Have a well balanced mind. That's what the text says.
Yes.
It's in there. I copied this straight out of the Bible. Well balanced mind. Somebody say a well balanced mind. And self-control. It's in the
Right
book.
there.
I got a witness, right? Can I get a witness? It's right here in the front row.
Right here, I got it highlighted.
Thank you. It says sound judgment, one more time, and personal discipline. Abilities that result in a calm, well-balanced mind and self-control. I can really stop the workshop right there, but I gotta keep going. A well-balanced mind. That's what a sound mind means. So we got to search the scriptures to see. The scriptures will give us the definition if we search it.
Come on.
A well-balanced mind. Calm. Somebody say well-balanced.
Well balanced.
Let me give you the definition, the clinical definition of emotional health. That's the biblical definition. You will see it will line right up with the clinical definition. Emotional health is a positive sense of well-being, which enables an individual to be able to function in society and meet the demands of everyday life. So emotional health, if you're emotionally and mentally healthy, you're able to function and meet the demands of everyday life without cracking under the pressure. It's your ability to handle stress, pressure. Emotionally healthy, mentally healthy is also being aware of and in control of your own emotions. Somebody say self-control.
Self-control.
It goes further. It is also being aware of the emotions of other people. That's called empathy.
Right there.
So that goes into being able to communicate with other people. Because you have empathy, you are aware of other people's emotions. You're able to read other people's emotions and see where they are today. And you're able to control your emotions so that there is no contention, there is no strife. You got me? So, let's talk about that first core value, that we are triune beings. Let's go to the book. Genesis 2 and 7. This is the first time we hear about the soul. If you were here last year, this part will be a refresher for you. Genesis 2 and 7. From this text, we learn the first core value, that we are triune beings. We are body, soul, and spirit. Watch this. We are a spirit. We live in a body, and we possess a soul. One more time. We are a spirit. We live in a body, in a tent, and we possess a soul. It says that God formed man from the dust of the ground. Is that what it says? He formed man, that's body. He breathed into man the breath of life, ruach, that's spirit. It then says, and man became a what? A living nephesh.
Yeah.
A living soul. So we are a spirit. We live in a body, and we possess a soul. Jesus said, in patience, possess ye your soul. Somebody know the book.
Yeah.
So the soul is the very essence of human life. Without the soul, the body can't exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The spirit is the essence of our heavenly or divine nature. So we are a spirit. We live in a body right now, in our current mortal, unglorified state, and we possess a soul. The soul is ours to maintain.
Yes.
This session today is going to talk to you about how to balance your soul. How to balance literally all three parts of us. Because we have three dimensions of us that need to work together at the same time in order for us to be healthy. Make sense?
Yes.
Let's talk about this word soul, nephesh or nefesh. N-E-P-H-E-S-H. N-E-P-H-E-S-H. Can I teach this morning? That's the Hebrew word, nefesh.
Amen.
In the Greek, it's the word suke.
Yep.
In English, we say psyche. It is where we get the word psychology. It is the study of the soul, the study of the mind, the study of the behavior. So here is what nephesh means in Genesis 2 and 7, according to Strong's. It is, watch this, the mind, the heart, the will, the appetite, and the emotions. Going somewhere. It's the mind, the heart, the will, the appetite, and the emotion. All of this encompasses the soul. It is also the way that we think. It is the way that we receive and process information. We also see out of our soul. It's called perspective. Everybody say perspective.
Perspective.
It is our way of looking at things. Because we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are.
Right.
Yes,
Teach
sir.
well, sir.
One more time. We don't see things as they are. We don't see a situation as it is. We see things as we are. We see out of our soul. It's called perspective. That's why, let me break this down.
Break it down.
That's why we can all have the Holy Ghost and still have conflict.
Oh my.
Did I just help you?
Real.
Yes, sir.
Because we're all seeing it out of our soul.
Right. This is good.
That means we need to get in the spirit because we are in the flesh seeing it out of our soul. Well, this is the way I see it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
God. Hallelujah.
This is why one of the hallmarks of being emotionally healthy, emotionally whole, emotionally mature is that you learn how to communicate. I'm taking my leaders now through effective communication, conflict resolution. And little do they know I'm not done with it. Why is this important? Because I just said it. I just told you. We see things not as they are. We see things as we are. We all have a point of view. We all have a perspective. And it causes conflict when we don't have enough empathy to see the other person's point of view. Because we're not relational enough. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
And it goes to the extreme level. I'm talking about working together, having relationships together. It goes to the extreme level, and we call that being antisocial. Let me help you with that. Because antisocial don't mean, well, I just don't want to talk to people. That's not what antisocial means. Stop walking around here talking about you antisocial. Let me help you. Antisocial means that you are against society. And you want to see people harmed. So we're talking about sociopaths. We're talking about mass murderers. People that violate the rights of others. Thank you, Apostle. So these are the people that start out in their childhood hurting and killing animals.
Okay.
Did I just help you?
Terrified. Yes,
So
sir.
stop running around here talking about you antisocial. You just funny acting.
Whoa. Talk. Set in the mic on 10.
Amen. Well, let me fix it up. You might just be an introvert. Or you might just have your days. But just stop saying that's what we call pop psychology or pop culture. That's stuff you get off TV
Right.
and social media. Don't believe everything you see on Instagram.
That's
Come
right.
on,
Oh, my goodness.
sir.
So there's pop psychology and there's real psychology.
Come on.
If you're saying you're antisocial, I'm always looking at you like,
Right.
Yes, sir.
you finna shoot something up in here?
Right.
Because that means you are anti-society.
Listen.
You are against, you want to violate the rights of others. Did I just help you? Did I teach you something? Okay.
Help us out. Come through.
So, we see out of our souls.
My Lord.
And we all have a different perspective. I always say this. You can tell a lot about a person. This is going to help you in ministry, marriage, relationships, friendships, all of that. You can tell a lot about a person if you understand how they were raised.
Help us right there, sir. Right
If you
there.
understand what is programmed in them, what they heard, the words that they heard, the environment that they were raised in, because we are products of our environment.
True.
Until we change our environment and we do the work to deprogram what has been programmed in us.
Yes. Good work.
That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Write this down if you're writing. The soul is a product of shaping.
Yes.
The soul gets shaped. This is not an excuse for poor behavior because we can all change. But it is an explanation.
Come on.
And it's a good starting point.
Thank you.
The soul is also, we're still talking about the soul, so laying foundation. The soul is also the seat of our personality. It is the seat of our character. That's why we can be anointed. I'm ahead of myself. We can be anointed with no character.
Right.
My.
Right.
Because character is a soul issue.
God from dying.
Your anointing is going to take care of itself. Because your anointing is from above.
Yeah, come on here.
And he don't have no character issues.
Not at all. None whatsoever. Not at all.
Get your
Let
whole
me get back to you. I'm ahead of myself.
Get our whole self together today. Yeah, please.
So, by now I hope you see that the soul and the spirit are not the same.
Come on.
They're interconnected, but they're not the same. The church of old taught us that, but it's not true.
That's right.
The soul and the spirit are not the same. Two different entities. Then we have our body hanging in the balance that's just going to follow whatever's the strongest.
Right.
So if your spirit is strong that day, your body's going to follow your spirit. If your soul, your emotions,
Help us out.
My God.
your will, your appetite is stronger that day, then your body's going to follow.
My
Your
God.
soul, your emotions. Make sense?
God help us. Jesus.
Can I prove to you that the soul and the spirit are not the same? Can I prove to you?
Please, sir.
It was not their spirit that got them into trouble in the garden. Let's think. I don't want you to shout this morning. I want you to think.
Amen.
Because we want to be healed.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
My assignment is not to shout to people.
Right.
Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. It was not their spirit that got them in trouble in the garden. It was their soul. Watch this. Let's go on the journey. And then I'll give you my talk. The Bible says that during a conversation with the serpent, the woman looked at the fruit. She looked at the fruit. She looked at the fruit during a conversation. And she saw that it was good for food. She saw. Do you label like this? She looked and she saw during a conversation. Watch this. Let me help you, because some of y'all still catch up. Her spirit knew the truth.
Come on here.
Her spirit knew what God said. But her soul, watch this, her soul developed an appetite.
Hey, listen.
Based on a conversation that she had with the serpent, that she had with the devil. Her spirit, the other part of her, knew what was right. But her soul, what is the soul? The mind, the will, the heart, the appetite, the emotions. The devil knew he couldn't talk to her spirit because her spirit was connected to God. Her spirit knew what was right. He had to talk to her soul. He had to talk to her emotions. In the world, the lust of the flesh. Am I helping you? The lust of the eyes and the pride of life. He appealed to her emotions, to her soul, to her appetite, and his conversation created an appetite. Sidebar, commercial break. Do you know how soul ties are created and maintained?
Help us, sir.
Someone say communication.
Absolutely.
I counsel people all the time. I can't get out of this relationship, and I don't know what to do, and I just keep going back. And my first question is, are you still talking to them?
Right.
Do you still have their phone number? Do you still have the emails? Do you still have the text threads? You have a live wire in your soul.
Are you listening?
That is connected to that person because you're still in communication with that person. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So the serpent talked a good game, and he created an imagination in her mind. What are we told to do? Cast down every thought, every imagination, every high thing that exalts itself against
knowledge.
This makes sense?
Help us.
Absolute good sense.
Because the spirit is willing,
That old flesh.
but the flesh is weak. So his words created an appetite. Not in her spirit. Her spirit knew better. But her soul. Her soul had an appetite. And it created something for them that was not of God.
Yes, sir.
That's why Jesus, the second Adam, had to come and show us how to do it.
Listen.
Because he had a soul too, man. 100% God, 100% man. He had an appetite too. But what did he say in the garden? Not my desire, not my appetite, but
you're working it in.
thy will. I have a will, and the Father has a will. Does that make sense?
You're working it in.
Let's move. So when they fell in the garden, we'll talk about this in a minute. When they fell in the garden, they fell from a God consciousness where they were being led by their spirit. Their spirit was connected to God, in alignment with God. Because how can two walk together except they be agreed? They fell from a God consciousness to a self consciousness.
Amen.
Which means now their soul is leading them. Their emotions are leading them. Their appetite is leading them. Their will is leading them. So they fell from a God consciousness to a self-consciousness.
That's so good.
How do I know they fell to a self-consciousness? Because before they were walking around naked. And they didn't know. But now all of a sudden they're naked and they're ashamed. They're self-conscious.
That's so powerful. Wow.
Now they are ashamed, guilt, condemnation, fear, sin entered the world. So now here we are. Somebody say, here we are.
Here we are.
Born in sin, shaped in iniquity. I gave you this last year, but I'm going to give it to you again.
Give it to us.
The soul is also translated in the Hebrew as tablet. So your soul collects information about you from the day that you were born until the day that you die.
Wow.
So the soul is wired to remember words, events. All of your history is locked in your soul. That's why we have so many emotional problems. That's why we have so many diseases and disorders, because we suppress those memories that are in our soul and we don't deal with the memories. We don't deal with our history. We fail to realize that all that stuff is still in us. All those traumatic experiences are still in us. That's why we don't tell people to just get over it. Or just pray about it.
Oh my God.
No, we gonna pray you through it. And then we gonna work through it. In somebody's office. Come on, somebody.
Come on here.
Or as I famously say, uncover to recover.
That's good.
I love it.
That's good. That's good.
So since the soul creates perspective for us, what we have been through shapes the way that we think. That can be very dangerous. It shapes the way that we think. And ultimately the way that we live until we get healed. So you can't shallow everything.
Okay. That's just okay.
Sir.
You need to be healed. Somebody say, I need to be healed.
I need to be healed, Lord.
Let me move quickly.
My God.
So the soul is a product of shaping. Even after we get saved.
Amen.
Okay.
Yep.
Even after we get saved. Because the church traditionally taught us that when we got saved, everything just got wiped clean. And we just knew. The slate is just clean. Y'all can look at me funny if you want to. Hey, look at my hands, they look new. Look at my feet. They do too. Ever since that wonderful day. Come on, don't play with me. I've been in church all my life.
Huh? My God.
I'm not the new guy.
Right.
I've been doing this all my life. Everything is new, but your body and your soul. Did you get a new body? Still got the same aches and pains.
Oh, gee.
And you didn't get a new soul. The spirit got regenerated.
That's right.
That's the doctrine of regeneration. You have been quickened who were dead in trespasses and sin.
Yeah.
So our spirit got regenerated, made new, but our soul still has the memories.
That's so good.
Still has the scars. Thank you. We still know how to sin too.
Ain't forgot. My God.
So we still have the memories. That means we can still be triggered. Everybody say triggered. And then say, I need to be healed from my memories. So if we got a new soul, that means we would have forgotten everything that ever happened to us. If we got a new soul, this same Paul that talked about regeneration would not have come back to us in Romans 7:22 and say, I delight in the law of God in my inner being, in my soul. But I see in my members another law.
What is it doing?
Waging against the law of my mind.
Listen.
And making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members.
Hey.
So there's a war going on. The war of my spirit mind and the war of my soulish mind. And my body is caught in the middle. He said, wretched man that I am. Who shall deliver me from this body of death? So what does that mean? I have a desire to carry out the will of God, but in my flesh, in my soul, dwells no good thing. So alignment, that's the word of the season. The man of God said it last night. I prophesied it in our church last week. Alignment, apostolic alignment, spiritual alignment, recalibration. I need all three parts of me together in alignment. Jesus asked the question, wilt thou be made whole? Do you want it?
Lord God.
Because you got three parts of you.
Yes.
Do you want the war or do you want wholeness?
My God.
Listen.
My God.
So here we are with the war. Saved, but with the war. This makes sense?
Yes, sir.
So we're in a balancing act with three parts. Spirit over mind, spirit over body. The spirit is supposed to be leading us. The spirit, our new regenerated spirit, is supposed to be in charge. Are we teaching people that still? Preachers, pastors, still check in. Because as many as are led by the Spirit of God. Okay, we still preaching that? Okay, good. That's why the saints still singing, my mind is telling me no, but my body. Okay.
The saints.
Okay. That's the generation of church we're raising now where they don't see nothing wrong with nothing. Okay. Balance.
You teaching such a truth.
Balance. Alignment. So the Bible says, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper. Let's move on. And be in health, even as your soul prospers. Which leads me to my topic. I know I got these long.
Listen. Jesus Christ.
Even as, that's balance. So everything is going to hinge off of emotional health. Off of your appetites being under control.
Lord help.
Your will, your emotions being together. Even as your soul prospers. My topic, and I've already been in it, I just want to give it to you now. Everybody say holiness.
Holiness.
Now let me spell it out for you.
Please. Come on.
W-H.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
There we go.
O-L-I-N.
Sir.
Yes.
I love this.
Yes, sir.
So if you write on the tape or something, don't spell it H-O-L. I-N-E. Yes.
I got it.
It's still right. Still right.
It's
Spell it W-H.
What? W. Don't
O-L.
get that
I-N.
Listen.
Now you haven't called it yet. You ain't been listening.
Come on. I got it.
Holiness. That's the word God gave me, and the root word for holiness, holiness, is whole. What does whole mean? Trusty Merriam-Webster. Whole is to be free of wound or injury. It means to be recovered, fully recovered from a wound or an injury. Restored.
Master.
We're talking about moving. You're talking about the ministry, the mantle, and the mandate. Let's be fully recovered, restored, being completely healed, free of defects or impairments. Wholeness also means emotionally and mentally sound, having all its proper parts or components. Somebody say whole.
Whole.
Somebody say holiness.
Holiness.
Now, in the church, in the religious context, what we focus on a lot, there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but what we tend to focus on a lot is holiness. Holiness. Especially in the Pentecostal church, right? We have holiness down, or so we think.
I think we do. Yes.
Even though most of the time our doctrine about holiness is incorrect.
Come on here. Clarify, Smith. Clarify, please.
Because it seems that the longer we are saved and the longer that we're in church, we start to believe that we got holy on our own. Permission to proceed.
Yes.
I know ordering protocol. I'm about to miss it. So we fail to remember the basic elementary principle that holiness has been given to us. He made us holy.
Yes.
It's the finished work
That's right.
of Calvary.
Yeah.
So we are resting in the finished work, according to Hebrews.
Amen.
We could not and still cannot save ourselves. For by grace we are saved through faith and not of works, lest any man should boast. Am I in the book? So we were sinners, could not save ourselves, could not make ourselves holy. He gave us his holiness and then said to us, be ye holy, for I am holy. So we don't borrow holiness because we couldn't make ourselves
You don't buy.
What?
This is so good.
holy.
My
I'm going
God.
somewhere. So we don't become holy on our own. He gave us holiness. He imputed unto us righteousness. Because we could never earn it, right? They tried it in the Old Testament under the law. Didn't work. They still fell short. They still missed the promised land. They still died in the wilderness. But there remained the rest
Come on here.
for the people of God. So he gave us his holiness and then said, perfect it, maintain it in the fear of the Lord. But here's the kicker. Holiness, Holiness, and holiness, Wholiness, go together.
I agree.
Let me help you. You can't walk in holiness without walking in wholeness.
Hey, come on.
Let me say it again.
Say it one more time.
You can't walk in holiness without walking in wholeness. So in order to be holy, in order to maintain the holiness that God gave to us, you must first be whole. Whole in your mind, whole in your emotions, whole in your appetites, whole in your will, whole in your desires. Watch this. If you try to walk in holiness without first being whole, you will soon return to the behavioral patterns of your old nature. Because the soul, watch this, the soul, that other part of us, it always wants to go back to what it's familiar with.
Yeah.
I think y'all missed that. I said our soul
Got it.
always wants to go back to what it's familiar with. He gave us holiness and then said perfected. But our soul always wants to go back to the old nature, to what it knows, to how it's been programmed, to how we were raised, to what we are familiar with. Let me prove it to you. If we are not whole, together, complete, free of deficit, firm, We're going to be like the children of Israel.
Listen.
Delivered, but still not healed.
Yeah.
What do you mean, prophet? They were out of Egypt. I need some help here. But Egypt
It's real.
was not out of them. So they were delivered. We get excited about deliverance and deliverance services. But the children of Israel were out of Egypt, but they were not healed because Egypt was not out of them. They were not whole. They were not together. Their bodies were out. We can even venture to say that their spirits were out. God brought them out with a strong hand. He drowned their enemies in the Red Sea. Prophetess Miriam and the praise team broke out that Sunday with the tambourines. They started dancing and shouting, singing to the Lord, for he had triumphed gloriously. The horse and the rider, he had drowned in the sea. The word was powerful that Sunday. The enemies that you see today, you will see them no more. Forever. They shouted and they bucked that Sunday. But their bodies were out. But their souls were not. Their minds, their emotions, their will, and their appetite were still in Egypt. How do I know? Because every time things got rough, and every time things got tough, what they say? We want the flesh pots of Egypt. We want to go back to what we're familiar with. We had it better back there, Moses. Did you bring us out here to die? Because they were delivered, but they weren't healed.
Wow.
They were delivered, but they were not whole. The unhealed soul always wants to go back to what is familiar.
Yes, Lord.
My Lord.
Remember, the soul is the seat of my desires. My emotions are not God. My emotions lie to me. And my emotions change. My emotions have me cutting folk off every December.
Every year.
When I need to be cutting myself off.
Holy Ghost.
Some of y'all catch that on the way home.
That was really good. Yeah.
Delivered, but always trying to go back.
Oh my.
Moses, did you bring us out here to die?
Right.
Aaron, make us a calf. Let us worship another God.
Yes.
They created another God with the wealth that God allowed them to get
And that's good.
because they wanted to go back.
My God.
They were delivered, but not healed. Is this making sense?
It is.
They were not whole.
Yeah.
Wholeness is all three parts of you together. Spirit was out, body was out. Soul still back in Egypt. Mephibosheth, one more example, was delivered. See, we shout about deliverance. Delivered just means I change locations.
Look at this.
If UPS delivers something to your door, that means it left where it came from and it's at your door.
Right.
So deliverance just means I changed location. Mephibosheth, anybody remember him? He was delivered from Lodabar to the palace. But he still wasn't healed. He still wasn't whole. His mind was not out. What did he say? I'm a dead dog. I'm not even worthy. He wasn't emotionally healthy. I'm not worthy to be here. As long as you're still defining yourself by where you were and not by where you are now, you're not really delivered. Because your mind, or your life, is going to follow the trajectory of your thoughts.
Yes.
As a man thinking in his heart,
So is he.
so is he. Out of the abundance of the heart. Very good. So how many times do we shout about being out, but our mind is still in? Still in the cycle. Trying to live holy, but not whole. Still broken in some areas. Whole in spirit, but broken in emotions. Broken in our will, broken in our appetite. Simon, Simon, Satan desires to have you.
Yes.
That he may separate you.
I hear you.
Have you looked at the word sift? Separate you.
Right.
As you. What are you? You're a body, you're a soul, and you're a spirit. Satan wants to have you. Once he gets his hands on you, he's going to separate you. He's going to sift you as wheat.
My God.
So the missing ingredient is being emotionally healthy, having all three parts of you, body, soul, and spirit, working together.
Yeah.
That means I have some issues that I need to deal with.
Come on.
One more time. That means I have some issues
Yes.
that I need to deal with. Some things that happened to me when I was a child. Come on, some traumas, some old thinking patterns that I need to challenge. Some word curses that were spoken over me. I need to realize that I have internalized some things, even in my adulthood, that I have suppressed, that I need to work through. Yeah, I'm real saved, and I'm good and anointed. Look, nobody is challenging your anointing. Nobody's challenging your gift. But like the man of God said last night, we hide behind our anointing. We hide behind our gifts. But that also says to me is that we've been pouring oil on top of messed up people.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Because the soul is the foundation of who I am. It's the core. It's the center. My spirit is fine. It's okay. But the soul is for me to maintain. It's for me to balance. I did a 2-part message called Pimp My Gift.
Well.
Because in the church, we have a tendency to use people for their gifts. And their character sucks.
This is good.
I'm not impressed. People get beside themselves when I start talking like this because I've been in church all my life. Been in ministry a lot of years. I don't care who get mad when I say it. I'm not boasting and bragging because it was him that kept me. And you don't know what I had to go through. I'm still going through.
My God.
To get to 20 years in January. So I grew up around a lot of gifted people. I've seen gifts that we don't even operate in the church right now. So gifts don't impress me. Character is what impresses me. So in the church, we do this thing that I call pimp my gift. I'll use you for your gift because it profits my church, my organization, my reformation. But I don't care anything about you. Your soul. Just get in here, do my praise and worship, preach to people, raise my offering. Go out here and commit suicide. I don't care. Go out here and beat your wife. I don't care nothing about all that. What did Jacob tell his firstborn? You are the firstborn, son of my right hand, excellent in strength. The inheritance should have been yours, but unstable as water. You ain't going nowhere. Thou shalt not excel. That's an emotional health scripture. That's the soul scripture. Excellent in strength, so you anointed, but you unstable as water. So we got to deal not with your anointing. It's easy to train gifts. Didn't I come in on something like that? It's easy to train a gift. But the humility, the character, the discipline, what did the scriptures say? A well-balanced, disciplined mind. Let there first be a willing mind. So we're not dealing with the gift problem in the church. Everybody gifted. He gave gifts to me. We're dealing with a character issue. Pimp my gift. Don't steal that. I'm writing a book. Don't be a thief. So if we're not delivered, if we're not healed in all three areas, it's going to show up. That stuff is going to start rising to the top in our ministry context, in our relationships, in our business dealings. It's going to start to surface. Let me give you this scripture, 1 Thessalonians 5:23. This is where I got the word holiness from, the way that I spelled it. It says, "And the very God of peace sanctify you."
Come on.
WHOLLY. This is a book. Holy.
Yes.
And I pray, God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Blameless. That's talking about holiness with an H. So you can't walk in holiness.
Come on.
Without walking in holiness. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
So we know how to have church, but without being made whole. So God is asking that question today: do we want to be whole? Spiritually healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy. Every part of you working together. Luke 10:27. Let's run in these scriptures real quickly. Luke 10:27. This is Jesus talking. He said, "Serve the Lord, love the Lord thy God with all." That's every part. All thy heart, with all your soul, with all of your strength, and with all your mind. Are you balanced with your anointed self? With your saved self? Somebody shout, "I want to be whole."
I want to be whole.
Bishop, I'm trying to wrap this up.
This is good.
Give me a time. 10 minutes, boy. I want to show you this really quickly. This is a part of my PowerPoint. All right. For those of y'all that can see. So everything in here just off of the success of the what? The soul. Soul is the center. If we're not emotionally healthy, can we see that for the most part? A little bit. If we're not emotionally healthy, thank you. If we're not emotionally healthy, we're not healthy in any other part. I did this graph because I want to show you something. The soul is in the middle. I put it in the middle for a reason. It's the red line, right? As the soul is going up, you see that everything else is going up at first. The soul starts to drop off. Everything else starts to drop off. Here's what we do. We're getting better spiritually. That's the bottom. No particular reason. The soul is in the middle for a reason, but no particular reason that the spirit is at the bottom. We're getting better spiritually. More gifted. We see in dimensions. Pulling down strongholds.
Yeah.
We got some new tongues. We added some R's to it. You real deep. You got R's in there. You like earth again. You got some. You roll in your tongues. Yeah, you real. Yes, God. So the spirit is up. The body is up. But notice that soul started going down. And I fixed the algorithms that it started going down, the soul goes down, and then notice the spirit goes down, the body goes down. So now we can't handle our emotional health. We're all over the place in our emotions. We're not dealing with things. We're not balanced. Body-wise, we put anything in our bodies. We're going to the nations, but we're out of breath going through the airport.
What?
We won't fast, so we can't last. I learned nothing about this. It was right all about it.
My God.
So as the soul starts to dip, the hinge, that's the hinge. You know, when you have a door, you have a hinge.
Yeah.
If the hinges are off, the whole door is off. That's how we are in the church. We off the hinge. We off the chain. Oh, God. Because our soul We're not emotionally healthy. We're not emotionally whole. So every other part of us suffers. You see that? Because we're not balanced.
Yes, Lord.
Will God be made whole?
Yes.
Somebody say, I want to be whole.
I want to be whole for real, God.
Thank you, Lord God.
So I posted that. I want to post that on my website.
Good teaching.
So all of those parts are connected. We need coping skills in my last 8 minutes. We need coping skills so that we learn how to maintain our emotions. Coping skills.
Coping.
Like journaling.
Yes.
Coping skills. Like counseling.
Right. There you go.
I'm throwing them out. You catch them. Coping skills. Like deep breathing.
That's right.
They called me from the office, or they texted me from the office, one of my secretaries, and they were like, the feds, not the feds, obviously, going to. But one of our credentialing agencies for the state is there, and so my executive director is looking for me, and the HR director is looking for me. And so I'm getting ready, and all of a sudden I went into panic mode, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't me. Because I've taught myself and trained myself over the years, you don't go into panic mode like that.
That's right.
That's self-talk. I talk to myself. Because some people, they get text messages and calls. This is how I train people and teach people. Because I tell people all the time as a leader, I don't jump in your storm.
Come on here. That's what I'm talking about.
That's good.
Because I can't be a leader. Everybody on the ship can't be in panic mode. This is a leadership training. It's a 2-for-1.
Hey.
So I do that in training, and I do it in my personal life. Because it's not good for you. It's not good for your brain. And it's not good for your respiratory system if you're always in a heightened sense of awareness and a heightened, it's fight or flight. Fight, flight, freeze. I don't have time to get into neuropsychology today. But it's not good for you. If you always, you get a text message and you just go into, you get a phone call and you're just in the panic mode. You got to train yourself to not do back brain processing and do front brain processing. So you need to write that down.
Come on.
The back brain is your emotional brain. You got me? I don't even let it go here. Okay.
Go there, prophet.
The back brain is your emotions. It's your amygdala.
Yes, sir.
It's your hippocampus.
Yes.
That's where your memories are. And you can be triggered.
Yes, you can.
So let's relate it to me. So when my secretary is texting me, I'm like, oh my God, the executive director is looking for me. What's going on? I'm thinking back to experience 5 years ago when the top boss was looking for me. Y'all see that? Because my amygdala was in operation.
Right.
And I'm emotional.
Yes, Lord.
My God.
So that's the back brain. Everybody says back brain process. The front brain processing is called the prefrontal cortex. That's rational thought. That's your executive functioning. Most of the time, we are living our life and we are stressed out. That's why you're stressed out. That's why you're moody and snappy. Because you're in your back brain. And you want people to be in the back brain with you.
Not going back there with you.
Back brain, front brain. Front brain is rational thinking. The way you get the most effective way to get yourself from emotional back brain to front brain rational is to do some deep breaths. Did I just help you, church?
Yeah, real good.
That's a practical application to God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. See, we quote it, but do we know the intervention to get us there? Well balanced. Ain't that what the scripture says?
Yeah. He said.
Use my ghetto colloquialism, ain't. But ain't that what it said, though? Well balanced. Calm. You got to highlight it, right? Calm. That's how you get there. He's not giving us a spirit of fear. No, I'm not going into panic mode. I'm all the way in Montgomery, 3.5 hours away. If the executive director is looking for me, she got to see me Monday. So I'm not going into panic mode, not before I'm getting ready to do a session about emotional health. Am I helping you?
Yes.
So we can't live our life in panic mode. We get a text message, we get a phone call, something rubs us wrong, and we just go. You're not emotionally healthy. I remember it's a journey though, not a destination. I had to teach myself that. Because one of the things I dealt with on a low level was anxiety, panic. And after I had my first panic attack in college, I said, never again.
That's good. Hallelujah.
So I was taught coping skills. You can't operate in your emotions and be effective in ministry.
Come on. Come on.
Sometimes I get, and I have a word, a phrase, pull back. So I'm like, okay. And I did some deep breaths, like, okay. Next back, the situation was handled.
Right.
What if I worked myself up? I wouldn't have been able to come in here and present to you.
Right.
That's good.
Fight, flight, freeze. So we need coping skills for wholeness. I just gave you one good example. So journaling, counseling, deep breathing, exercise. That's the mind-body connection. And with exercising, that's eating right.
Yes. Oh my.
Help, Lord.
Right?
Yes.
Jesus help us.
Another good skill is to always know where you are emotionally. Always know where you are. So emotional healthy is always knowing where you are. It's knowing how to express your emotions, being aware of your emotions. We all have emotional needs. I call them emotional needs, and this will be on the PowerPoint. Trying to move quickly and skip over some stuff. If we are led by our emotions are terrible leaders.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are. Come on.
Remember back to the introduction, the garden, led by emotions, led by appetite, led by will, they got them kicked out of the garden. So we're supposed to be led by the Spirit. So we have to be aware, self-awareness, aware of our emotional needs. We all have, this is a theory of mine, quickly. We all have emotional needs. Give it to you really quickly. Find yourself in one of these categories. I'm going to just give you like 4 or 5. First one is the need for acceptance or validation. When you don't have a good sense of identity, you will find yourself looking to others to validate you. Sometimes we have a longing for acceptance. This is an emotional need that cannot afford to be unbalanced. But there's a difference between affirmation and validation. Okay, I'll let you look that up. First one is a need for acceptance, again, and validation. Next one, need for approval. Need to be liked. Many of us have dealt with rejection, and it spills over into our ministry context. It spills over into relationships. So we're pushing others away because we're afraid to be rejected. Or we're too needy because we've been rejected. Okay? So rejection is a great motivator, but if the emotional side of it isn't dealt with, it can have horrible side effects. More churches have been started because of rejection than anything else. More ministries have been started by rejection than anything else. So now we're doing things to prove people wrong in order to accept walking in purpose. So we want to prove somebody wrong. We do know that was the root cause of Absalom's rebellion and Jezebel's issues. It was spiritual, but it also had a soulish component. And it's called rejection. Next one, need to be loved. We all want to be loved. Fellow baby. Need to be loved. Come on, Samson. Do I need to go any further? Messed up his ministry. Tainted his anointing. because he had a need to be loved that was unbalanced. He wasn't aware of where he was emotionally that day. And Delilah got him. Took his power.
My God.
Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Next one, need to be needed. This is if I don't do it, it won't get done. The devil is a lie.
That's it.
They need me. The devil is a lie. It develops codependency, whereby we always need to be doing something for others and never anything for ourselves. I don't have time to do this.
Straight at me.
Find yourself. Find yourself. Look in the mirror. Last one, need to be understood. Need to explain ourselves. Always feel like we got to prove ourselves, clap back, vindicate ourselves. But when you're emotionally healthy, you understand. You don't always have to prove yourself. You don't always have to explain yourself over and over again. That's an unbalanced need that needs to be examined.
Yeah.
So always know where you are. Be aware of your vulnerabilities so you can balance. Make sense?
Yeah.
Spiritually, last thing, the devil knows where you are emotionally. And he's going to play on it every chance he gets.
Absolutely.
He's going to play on it before you preach and after you preach. Okay, I just helped about 2 people. It's called vulnerability. He knows when to attack. He knows when to send temptation. He knows what you like. And he knows you have a need to be understood, a need to be validated. And he's going to inch in and send what you need. Let's not be ignorant of Satan's devices. So, holiness starts in the soul. Right? Without being made whole. Let there first be a willing mind. All 3 areas have to be balanced. Then we will be whole. That makes sense this morning?
Yes.
Amen. I hope I blessed you. Hope I gave you something to think about. Amen? Last thing I want to say, just an offer. Okay, I have a new ebook. My mind just went blank. I don't even know what's called. Praise the Lord. You on the website? Thank you so much. Scroll down on the home page. I know what it's about. I don't remember the title.
That's all that
That's what
matters.
happens when you work your brain. You put out a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Teach their classes other day. Okay, it is called Peace on Earth and Peace of Mind. Surviving the holidays after grief, loss, and tragedy.
That's good.
Right? So the holiday season is a time where a lot of people they are reminded, they are triggered. During this season is a very festive season, very celebratory season, where many people suffer or have problems internally because they're missing loved ones. And grief is not just relegated to only losing a loved one. We've had a lot of fires and we've had a lot of floods, thank you, and hurricanes, and so that is also grief. You go through grief after you lose someone to divorce, you lose a relationship, a friendship. So grief is not just losing someone to death. And so I have this new ebook, and I just gave you the title, and so you can go to my website. Here is the offer. Between today and next Friday, if you go to my website, www.thejoshuasmith.com, thejoshuasmith.com/store. You can download a copy of my book for free. Right? Now, anybody that knows me knows I'm business and I'm about brand and I don't do free. But because I love you all, with the love of the Lord, I am offering this book to you for free for a limited time only. Okay? .thejoshuasmith.com. THE Joshuasmith.com /store. And if you don't remember the /store, when you go to the website, one of the top links, I think the last one is store. Click on store. When you go to that store link, the first thing you're going to see on that page is add to cart. Just click add to cart. Okay, and I made that kind of inconspicuous because I didn't want everybody to know that I was offering this.
Amen.
So because you're in this session, just click add to cart.